welcome to Inside of New England's Therapeutic Talk. Please like, subscribe, and comment below. I am Candace, and you are watching Inside of New England's Therapeutic Talk. I started this channel to talk about current events and share stories and have guests come on and talk about things that they're doing in the community. I am a licensed professional counselor, and today I am going to share a true story that I encountered. The story is around racism. Big surprise, most of my stories are around this topic. But I do have other stories that I want to share at some point, but these are fresh on my mind right now. So this story takes place when I was in college at CCSU. In Connecticut. I was in the counseling program. I had to take a few classes before I could get licensed. So one of the courses that I had to take was a multicultural counseling class. And I just want to share a story that took place when I was in that class. So I think we were sharing stories, like it's supposed to be sort of like a group counseling, I guess, activity. So we were all kind of sharing like stories that took place, how we felt about things around racism or things that we had taken place in our lives. So I don't remember exactly the way it went down, but I believe what was happening was we were sharing these stories, and it was just me. There was a black guy, and there was another black girl, and I think that was it. And our professor was actually black, which she was the only black professor in, I believe, at that time in the counseling department. So that might be another story all on its own, but today we'll focus on what happened in the class. So at this time, this was, a few years ago. So at this time, people weren't really talking. Well, they were, but they weren't talking at the heightened levels that we're talking today about these things. So I said something because I've always been pretty outspoken about speaking about this, and I said something about different things that we encounter, with racism. And a white male that was in the class, in the counseling class, so what we were doing was we were sharing these stories, right? Or sharing information about things. And when I shared this, so we would come back and like kind of, so we're using our counseling skills, saying things to our classmates about things that we're bringing up. And we're supposed to be learning how to approach these things with our clients as we're doing this. So when I said what I said, a white male who was in the class came back and said, and I can't even remember exactly what it was that I was saying. Like, I think I was saying just how relevant slavery, and racism is today, just as it has been, for all of these years. He said, well, Candace, that doesn't happen anymore today. So we don't believe that way anymore. Like that you guys are that we're in slavery anymore. We don't believe that, and it's just so. I came back and I said, well, this is very relevant to today because, we have people who are running for office who are very racist. I think this was around the time when Trump was actually campaigning. So now that I'm thinking back, I think this was around that time. Yeah, so it was just like, how can you say this when there's a lot of people there were a lot of killings that summer too of black males. There were a lot of deaths that took place where they were just being shot by police and, different things that were being videotaped at that time as well. And I was like, if these things are happening, I think it is very relevant to today still, right? I mean, how can you say it's not when people are being people are actually literally dying still. So my professor, stepped in and was just like, you can't, that's not the way to approach when a client is telling a story or sharing information about their experience. A counselor, a, a therapist, a counselor, a person who's in the helping field should not come back and try to argue or debate whether or not that happened or whether or not it's relevant today, because it is relevant to me. And even if you don't agree with it being relevant today in your eyes because you're a white male and you're privileged, it's not relevant to you, doesn't mean that it's not relevant to me. And if you're trying to give a therapeutic feedback to me, dismissing my feelings and my experiences in this country is not a healthy, helping way to go about that. That's not a therapeutic approach that should be used. And so the reason why I am sharing this story today is because I feel like it is deeply important for therapists, counselors, people who are working in the helping field, people who are educators, and also just regular everybody in this world. Like if somebody is telling you something that happened to them, because I feel like this has gone on for so long, and there was a period of time in our country where it was just like if somebody said something like that, like what happened in that class today when I shared whatever it was that I shared, and he came back and said that wasn't really relevant to today because that's not how we see things. It's like a lot of people were dismissing things that people were saying at that time and trying to act like these things don't happen anymore. Why are you trying to call the racism card? It's not even about that, especially when you're a therapist. It's not even about that. It's not about who's right, who's wrong. It's about what that client is telling you in that moment and how they feel and how their experience was. It's not your job to figure out whether or not it happened or not, or your feelings behind it, because you live a different life. When you wake up and you go to school, it's different for you than it is for me, a Black single working mother who is putting herself through school. It is a whole different experience for me. So you trying to dismiss my experiences living in this country is not therapeutically helpful. And even if you're someone's friend or family member or just walking down the street and someone saying something, it's just rude and disrespectful to dismiss what someone is saying. Their story is relevant to them, so therefore it should be heard and it shouldn't be dismissed. And that's the reason why I wanted to share this story. I hope that counselors, I hope that people who are friends with people who are trying to be allies right now, or whatever it is, that you're not dismissing what someone's saying and trying to like counteract or contradict what they're saying, because even it's traumatizing. It's re-traumatizing to have someone saying that to you. It's not surprising. I think for me that day, I was annoyed with him. And, I came back and told him, like, how can you say that? And argued and, put him in his place, because it's like, these are facts, right? These are things that are actually literally happening. So how dare you tell me how it's different when these things are happening? And it's documented that it's happening. So arguing and saying that it's not is, I have proof, right? So, but it shouldn't have to come to that point. But I think I'm used to it coming to that point, and it's okay for me as a grown woman. I have thick skin and can deal with that, but I just feel sorry for people who, it's very traumatizing, especially if you're in a field where you're supposed to be helping, or you're a teacher or in any kind of position like that, and you're trying to act like this didn't happen. That's not okay. It's just wrong on so many levels. It's not ethically okay. in my opinion. Like it's like you're doing harm, right? To your client, to your student. You're doing harm. So, you have to keep that in mind when someone is sharing their story. It's people who go through trauma, people who are assaulted, people who are sexually assaulted or something like this. They experience that as well. It's like, well, did that really happen? Or was that your fault? I mean, you don't do that. You just don't. You don't shame the victim. And in that situation, I was the victim, right? I was sharing what was happening to me, my experiences, and then you dismissed what I was feeling. So then you actually re-traumatized and made me a victim again, and I had to defend myself all over again. That's not helpful, okay? So that's my message today. That's my true story for today. I hope that everybody is feeling safe. I hope that everybody is well. And I hope that if you are working in any of these positions where someone is telling you a story like that, that you don't have that response that that guy had. And I hope that if you are just friends with someone and they're sharing something, that you don't have that response, because it's just disrespectful. And we need to be nice and respect people. We never know when something terrible is going to happen to us as an individual. And, try to think about how you want to be treated, right? Would you want someone to dismiss your story? I don't think that you would. So if that's not the way you want to be treated, then don't treat other people that way. Let's treat people with respect, and as human beings who have stories, and our stories are our truth. Whether or not it's your truth or not is irrelevant. So I hope that everybody's safe and well, and I will hope to see you again soon. Thank you. Bye.
There's so many things to say before I turn and walk away.